My name's Pete Wood. You're watching Hexham TV. Who are you?
Hi, Pete. I'm Matt Baker. I work at Sycamore Net Zero, which is a non-profit community interest company. And we're doing a really exciting project in Hexham where we're looking to create a district energy scheme for the community. And things have progressed really well. We've done work with a local consultancy called D3 Associates. We've had some funding from central government and some funding from Northumberland County Council. And we're just at the point now where we're going to start bidding for more funding. And that the single most important thing for the funding at this stage is going to be demonstrating that organizations are interested in the project and interested in the scheme. And it's a particular kind of organization who we're interested in. So it's organizations like care homes, like doctors, like the hospital who use heat and need heat consistently throughout the year. We'd love to hear from any organization, cafes, restaurants, pubs, um, you know, community centres, kind of any organisations in the town more broadly, any of the local business community. But we're really especially interested in talking to, care homes and the GPs who are based in the Hexham area. And in terms of the boundaries of the project, so if you're driving into Hexham from Corbridge, kind of starts roughly in my head where kind of Mole Valley is. And if you're coming in the other way from the Carlisle way, it would be roughly where the cemetery starts. And everything then down into the town centre and over the river and to the A69. So that's the kind of the rough scope and area. That there are two online forms which people can use to kind of record their interest, and then all that does is basically allows us to let them know about the project as it develops and to just keep them engaged and keep them informed. And that also allows us to show government that we're engaging with the community and the community are engaging with us.
So that's very clear, Matt. Tell me, what is the project aiming to do?
Yeah, so the project is aiming to recycle heat wherever we can find it, which could be from industry, could be from manufacturing processes, and we're still working through what the details of that could look like. And basically put that heat into insulated pipes and then pump that heat around the community. And how it works is actually really, really simple. People take the heat into their homes or into their businesses into effectively what looks like a radiator. The engineers call them heat interface units, HIUs, but basically this radiator comes into your building where your boiler would be, and you take your boiler out, you put your radiator in, and effectively you just transfer heat from the network into the building. It uses the radiators in exactly the same way as your heating system would do. The only little bit of complexity is if you've got a combi system, you would need a hot water tank. But because the HIU is quite small, you don't really need that much more space. So it's a real kind of plug and play system, which we believe will help people to reduce their energy bills. It will definitely avoid the need for significant retrofit costs as people start thinking about whether they have a gas boiler or a heat pump. And it would undoubtedly be a really, really low carbon system and have a much lower reliance on the electricity grid than heat pumps, which also will be really good for Hexham because we're going to need a lot of electricity grid reinforcement when people start to electrify how they move around and how they kind of heat buildings. So it's a really complementary system to heat pumps. It's just done on a much bigger scale.
And this is a proven technology, isn't it, Matt? It's this sort of technology has been used elsewhere to good effect.
Yeah, so the great thing about heat networks is the technology is actually really boring. So it's really basic. It's been used for hundreds of years across Europe. So the kind of the best example of it that I know of is actually Stockholm, where effectively you've got multiple sources of energy all connecting together, and the entire city is heated using a district energy system like the one that we're describing. And we're actually doing a lot of work as part of this project with the Danish embassy based in London to really learn from what colleagues in Denmark are doing and bring some of that know-how and knowledge into this project. And there are a few links on the Sycamore Net Zero website, which basically direct you into some of the work that colleagues in other countries have been doing. And it's not just limited to Europe. So in the UK, the closest example to where we are here in Hexham actually is in Gateshead, where there's quite a well-renowned now district energy scheme that is operated for residents and businesses within the kind of Gateshead community. And I think the really exciting thing about district energy is that it offers a really credible, easy to access, cheap alternative to other ways of decarbonisation. But if we get this scheme right, I think we also stand a really good chance of beating the price of gas in terms of how people are currently heating their homes.
So, assuming that you had appropriate funding, which I know is always a big if, but hope fingers crossed. What sort of timescales will we be talking about?
Yeah, so this is a big infrastructure project. So, these things, as you've said, require significant funding and kind of don't happen overnight. But in rough handfuls, if things progress in the way that we'd like them to, I think we'll be able to confirm what the source of heat looks like in the next probably 6 to 7 months, that sort of time frame. And then that will unlock a period of work where we start to get into more detailed design, which would run probably through the end of 26 into the end of 27. And then you probably start to see construction in 2028 into 29 with I'd like to think heat on in the summer of 2029 if everything kind of lines up. It might not work quite like that, but that's roughly kind of how it is shaping up in my mind. But the key thing that will unlock that timescale and unlock the funding is evidence of that demand. And that will give everyone the confidence that the scheme is viable. It'll give people confidence that actually the heat source can work. It'll give people confidence to fund this in a really accessible way. And it really does kind of come back to evidencing that people in the community want this.
And so that Hexham could be an exemplar, couldn't it, for the future for other sort of small market towns?
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity for Hexham to actually really plug a hole for the government in terms of how do you decarbonize, a rural market town like Hexham, of which, as we know, there are, many within Northumberland, let alone when you kind of scale across the northeast Yorkshire and beyond into kind of other shire counties, kind of further south and into Wales and into Scotland. So there's a real opportunity here for Hexham to kind of put itself on the map, and I think that feels really important linking to some of the other things that the community is doing around the arts and kind of really creating an identity for Hexham. I think there's a really lovely connection that we can draw between Hexham leading and being first at things.
And it's important to say that this heat capacity is there, but really at the moment it's just currently going to waste. It's just not being used.
Yeah, so I think that there is waste heat that's available, but I think there's the potential for even more waste heat. But the confidence to be able to get access to that will only come from the customer confidence. So the two things really do kind of go hand in hand. I think we're really close to some exciting developments. So we're just at this sort of tipping point now where you're kind of you it's really clear what we need to do next. And once we've got that evidence, that knowledge base from the care homes, we've got a good knowledge base in the hospital already, and we've got a really lovely letter of support from the estates board at the hospital. We've got buy-in from the school. We've got some really strong buy-in from EGA, and everything is starting to come together. It's just that moment now where kind of I don't want to be kind of over ambitious, but at the same time, I am really excited that we're at this kind of tipping point of what could be a really incredible scheme.
Matt, it does sound like an exciting scheme and something that would really benefit Hexham. Thank you very much for talking to Hexham TV, and I encourage any local businesses um, and individuals, but particularly businesses, and Matt mentioned care homes and people that are using energy on a consistent level, 24 hours a day, some of the organisations that he wants to reach. So thanks very much for talking to Hexham TV.
Thanks, Peter. Nice to meet you again.